Hello, many thanks for joining us on TVC News. I am Ugochi. President Muhammadu Buhari will today be in Yobe State over recent attacks and communal clashes in the state. He will be meeting with security personnel and stakeholders in the state to discuss an end to the crisis. Meanwhile, a detachment of security personnel, including Army, Police and Civil Defense Corps, were deployed in strategic locations to receive the president. Our TVC News correspondent Michael Oshoma is standing by to tell us more about the president's visit and its implications. Many thanks for joining us, Michael.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, first, can you let us in on what the mood is like in Yobe State?
Presently, security formation are taking strategic position, and politicians and the entire Yobians are standing by to await the arrival of President Muhammadu Buhari as we speak. The atmosphere is calm. We shall be expecting the president any moment from now, and we hope to see the first place he will be visiting will be the government house to meet traditional rulers, to meet the security agencies and other stakeholders that are involved in this abduction saga. So he's going to discuss with them, and after that, it has also been scheduled that the president shall be meeting with the parents, the affected parents of the Dapchi missing girls, to reassure them of the efforts of government in rescuing the missing girls.
Okay, now that's what it's like in Damaturu in Yobe State. Do you know if the president will be visiting Dapchi?
We are not yet certain, but it has been communicated to us through some aid of the presidency that it's part of the schedule for the president to go there. We are not certain, but we are standing by that any moment when he arrives Yobe State, Damaturu, precisely the capital city, after meeting with the security and traditional rulers, hopefully he might visit that community.
Now, Michael, what are the people saying? Do they have strong faith that this might change the security situation in their states? I mean, his visit is to help make things better in the state. Are they hopeful that this visit would actually do anything?
Sure, especially the affected parents of the missing girls. For the president to recently say, even if it takes negotiation, if it takes them to negotiate with the terror group to rescue the girls, I think this goes a long way to give hope to the affected parents. They are expecting the president, and they are very, very optimistic that with the coming of the president, something positive will happen in terms of rescuing the missing girls. They are hopeful. Everybody they felt this will give more effort to the security information to sit up. At least the visit of the president, in discussing with them, this will make them to put more strategy and more effort in the fight against insurgency in this region.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael Oshoma. I will have you back for more on this visit, historic visit by the President Muhammadu Buhari to Yobe State. Moving on, locals in Dundu community of Basa local government area of Plateau State, north-central Nigeria, on Tuesday morning woke up to an unpleasant surprise. 25 villagers were ambushed and shot dead by suspected militia that night. TVC News Plateau correspondent Funom Joshua compiled this report.
These are women from Dundu community, Plateau State. They are mourning the killing by herdsmen of residents of the locality on Monday evening. 25 people were killed, while many were badly injured in the attack. The victims, according to eyewitnesses, were returning from an event in a nearby community when they ran into an ambush.
Yesterday, the people of this village, they were having some occasion somewhere. When people were about to come back to their houses, they saw fire on those houses you are seeing. They come without knowing that the Fulani people came and lay ambush on the road from here down near to the place where the occasion is taking place. So when the people saw fire, now they continue rushing to where the fire is. So as you can see, all the dead body is from the place where the occasion took place.
The unfortunate incident occurred at the time when a community located a few kilometers from Dundu was preparing to bury their loved ones, 5 of them killed by the same suspected herdsmen on the day President Buhari visited Plateau State. And shortly after the 29 victims were laid to rest, some residents of the Irigwe community expressed their dissatisfaction with the recent comment made by some Plateau stakeholders during President Buhari's state visit to Plateau State. Worried by the recent incessant attack on Irigwe communities in Bassa local government area of Plateau State, the locals are calling on the international community to come to their aid and stop what they describe as an evil plan to drive them away from their ancestral homeland.
This latest attack occurred shortly before the mass burial of some victims who were killed last week. A few hours after visiting President Muhammadu Buhari left the state, the police public relations officer in Plateau State, Tena Tiopev, who confirmed the midnight attack, said 25 persons were killed. As you saw there, earlier the police commissioner Jeremiah Ondi directed the deputy commissioner Taiwo JBUC to conduct an on-the-spot assessment at the scene of the incident.
We discovered, sadly too, that about 25 people lost their lives in the incident, and 2 people are critically injured and are receiving treatment. We want to inform members of the public that it's a disheartening news, and that is why the Commissioner of Police, CP Ondiadie, decided to send a Commissioner of Police in charge of the Department of Operations to go and carry out on-the-spot assessment to determine the number of personnel that the local government needs. And he just arrived this afternoon. We are in the management is in the news to determine what help and what deployment the local government needs.
Security expert Professor Sam Osma joins us on the news for more perspective on this recent communal clashes. Many thanks for joining us, Sam.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, it seems we're having more attacks despite the president's visit. I mean, he's been to some states and it occurs once he leaves, there's been an attack according to the people. Do you think the attackers are actually sending a strong message to say, we're here, nothing can stop this?
Yeah, obviously, these attacks show that some people are actually challenging the federal government. They are challenging the president. They are telling the president that with or without your presence, whatever we want to do, we'll still go ahead to do. So it sends a very negative signal, to the security architecture of the country to show that really a lot of work needs to still be done to be able to get government to properly protect citizens.
I mean, we've been talking about so much work being done to protect citizens. Do you think it might get to the point where communities may begin to arm themselves to protect themselves?
Yeah, I think this is where we're all headed to. It's becoming very cheap to die in Nigeria. It's becoming very easy to die. People just die, they bury them just recklessly, and then life goes on for those who survive. And if you are in the news, you also hear recently militias in different parts of the country. And it's a very bad signal that our communities are beginning to say, okay, we don't need to get any protection from those that should protect us. And therefore, they need to find ways to protect themselves. Even though this, again, does not really solve problems, but it's simply pointing fingers, pointing directions to the fact that communities now are beginning to lose a lot of confidence in the security system, the government security system to protect them. So they might be finding alternatives to what may be seen as self-defense.
Now, Sam, we also understand that this is a scramble for resources, land, water. I mean, how difficult is it to tackle crisis caused by scramble for resources?
Well, this is a long debate, and it looks as if anything can be used to justify mayhem, to justify cruel criminality of men against themselves. The scarce resource that we debate about is not just in Nigeria. Everywhere in the world you have a lot of people demanding for services, demanding for resources to be able to survive and to live. There are two dimensions to this. Either the resources are scarce or the resources are in abundance, and the distributive network or system or mechanism is not fair and just enough. And so you still find people, irrespective of what is available, as long as the distributive channels are not fair, adequate, and proportionate to the needs of the people, you still find explanations for why these sorts of things are going on. I don't think that resource scarcity is enough explanation for the sorts of dastardly acts that we see taking place around us in our country, because right here in Nigeria, if you say the Middle Belt is the hotbed of all the crises over resources, what happens in the Southwest, what happens in the Southeast? We have abundance of resources. You still find people, you still find criminals, you still find syndicated groups going out there to unleash mayhem on people, entering school compounds and killing school children. I don't think that those arguments should hold water anymore. I used to believe that, of course, that climate change used to provoke some of these movements, used to provoke some of these challenges, and yes, but government has enough resources to meet the challenges of climate change.
Okay, so as an expert, how else do you think the government should really handle this? It seems we're having more people being killed in Nigeria, which is supposed to be a peaceful country compared to countries that are at war.
Yeah, a lot lies on the government, and a lot lies on the people as well, on their perception of the sincerity of government, with their probe reports, with their on-the-spot assessments. I heard the police commissioner talking about on-the-spot assessment. We have enough of this. For every incident, you have an investigation, and that comes up with some kind of recommendation. And then I think the biggest challenge is that the unwillingness of those in authority to implement what they see. And so if the government doesn't have a hand in this, they should have the moral impetus to go ahead to implement the recommendations that panel reports bring forward. If they don't, then that's where the problem is. So you cannot be talking to the government, you cannot be talking to authorities that are unable to meet and to create adequate frameworks to protect lives of citizens. So a lot can be said about the government because government has a monopoly of power, government has a monopoly of violence, but then this is not properly being deployed to the purpose. So
not properly deployed.
We can talk about the government, we can also talk about civil society, we can talk about the community. I think this is a collective thing. Security is very collective, and that's the way I think we can go about it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time. It's collective efforts. There's Professor Sam Osma, security expert. We appreciate you.